So we'll be going over the just noticeable difference experiment using orientation. I'll just be explaining what the code means basically. So the first few lines of code: import the necessary libraries. You're going to need a lot of PsychoPy modules for a full experiment, and a numpy, which basically just handles like different numerical and mathematical functions and whatnot. And the try except lines are going to allow you to try and load a parameter file from a previous run of the experiment. And if it doesn't work, it's because the experiment hasn't been run yet. Go figure. So then you're going to create a default set of parameters instead. And they're super easy to store into a Python dictionary that'll be called exp_info. And the last line just adds the current date to the information. So then after loading the parameters, you're going to allow the user to change them in a dialog box. It's the simplest form of dialog. It's created from the dictionary you imported earlier. And the dialog is going to be presented immediately to the user, and the script is going to wait until they hit OK or cancel. If they hit OK, then you're going to keep going, and you're going to use the updated values and save them to a parameters file. And if the user hits cancel, then the script is going to quit and you're going to save nothing. So then you're going to create a file to which the data is going to be output as text during each trial, as well as being output as a binary file at the end of the experiment. And PsychoPy actually has supporting functions to do this, but we're just going to do it manually. So you're going to create the file name from the subject, date, and CSV. And CSV files can be opened in most spreadsheet packages like Excel, Numbers, Google Sheets, whatever. And the last line just kind of shows how easy it is to send the text to the target document after opening the text file. PsychoPy allows for the setup of an object to handle the presentation of stimuli in a staircase procedure, aka the stair handler. This defines the increment of the orientation, and for this experiment it'll be configured to start with an increment of 20 degrees, which is super noticeable, and it's going to home in on the 80% threshold value. And the increment's going to step up every time the subject gets a wrong answer, and it'll step down for 3 correct answers in a row. And the step size is also going to decrease after every 2 reversals, so it's going to start with 8, which is a really big difference, and then it's going to go all the way down to a 1, which is small, and you'll finish about like 50 trials. And this chunk of code just basically creates the window, the stimuli, and the timers. We're going to need a PsychoPy visual window where we can draw our stimuli, the fixture point, and 2 grading stimuli. One's going to be the target, the other is going to be the foil. We're going to use 2 timers, one to measure the time passed since the experiment began, and one to measure how long it takes to answer each trial. We're going to display a message asking the subject if they're ready. We're going to create the messages and the fixation and display them simultaneously, then wait for the subject to press the key before starting. This is going to use a for loop that'll just keep repeating over the trials in the experiment, and each time the staircase object passes through the loop, it's going to provide a new value for the intensity of the difference. It's going to be called this increment, and the position of the target stimulus is going to be randomly chosen. This is going to set the orientation of the foil to be the reference, and it's going to draw all of the stimuli. You're going to wait 500 milliseconds for the presentation, then blank the screen except for the fixation point. And then within the for loop, we're going to get a response from our subject. It's assuming that there's been no response yet and to wait for a key press. We're going to check for correct and incorrect answers and then assign the appropriate response, ending the trial. And the event buffer must be cleared when checking for key presses in this manner. This tells the staircase the result of the trial with the add data. Then it can work out whether the next trial increases or decreases, and we're also going to be saving the data in the CSV file created earlier. The for loop's ended because the staircase ended, and the trials are over. The next step is to close the text data file and to save the staircase as a binary file, which will keep a whole lot more information than we saved in the text. And then we're going to give some immediate feedback to the user, tell them the intensity of the reversals, give them the mean total of the last 6, and then after saving the data, we're going to give them feedback and then quit.